What makes an invention work?
People think that you can market anything, but, you know, to be a bit controversial, I might say you can polish poo, but you can't do much else with it. I mean, I think that the invention has to be robust and sound in the first place, and then you can do something with it. And the challenge, I think, for inventors, compared with perhaps the term that's in vogue at the moment is innovation. So innovators who are effectively following an iteration, and there's a tried and tested method, it's reducing risk, investors feel a lot more confident about it than this thing that comes out of the blue. So if you have an inventor...
So refining something that's already there.
Right, because that's the business case, because I think the challenge is not that the inventor has created something of which there is no use, but it's difficult to communicate that value, especially if it's a big leap to people that don't know about these things. I mean, can you imagine, before we saw smartphones, if someone did like a vox pop and said, would you like a phone with no keypad that can play songs, that can take photographs, that you can answer messages, and people are like, no, I would much rather have my Discman, and I would much rather have a keyboard, because how would it know where my thumbs go? And so there's a lot that's gone into marketing, and you know, Apple is the example that everyone talks about, right? Because they were just able to do some really good marketing, and they didn't innovate as much as some of the other providers, and so I think that bit's really important. The challenge becomes now that, you know, I mean, it's a cliche, but the best invention is the wheel, right? So when we've got to the stage when you've got wheels, and now, like, we have wheels, we've got to think about what is it that we're improving. So sometimes I wonder that, you know, when you see someone come out with a new cordless, battery-powered electric toothbrush that gets your teeth clean, and you think, well, for centuries people have been using twigs, miswak twigs, that are now in fashion in Hipsterville, people are spending a lot of money on them. So I think it's still that challenge of, you know, when you teach innovation, students come with great ideas, and I have to kind of be the grumpy old man to say, but do I really need that? But really try and sell it to me.
Okay, so what do you think? Could he sell his idea to you?
Yeah, he could. And yeah, of course you can. Anyone can do it. But I think, I mean, it's important to say that,
are you being polite, or do you think you've been interested in what he's doing?
I actually think that when it comes to an idea, when there's an inventor, a lot of it that relies upon whether someone goes forward is, what's the person like? Where are they from? What's their background? What's their form? What drove them? I want to understand their thinking.
Their story?
Yeah, what's their thinking process? Because if I'm going to invest money and time in that person, I want to know that they're going to come out with 2, 3, 4 ideas. And I also think there's a big glug of luck. I mean, you mentioned music. People can learn to play the piano, the guitar, whatever it is. They can write great songs, but they might never make it. You know, luck is a big component, and I think that means that you want to get lucky, basically. So the way to increase the chances of you being more lucky is to network, is to practice, is to consistently come out with ideas, to hone them down, to learn how to pitch more effectively, to be cogent in a certain amount of time. So actually, the skill set of an inventor becomes greater and greater and greater because there's more competition, and because there are just so many moving parts.
Because, of course, they've all changed our lives, haven't they, inventions?
Yeah. But I think some of what you're saying sounds like innovation rather than invention, right? Because you're doing research and you're trying to solve a problem to something which kind of exists. And I think there's a spectrum, right? Innovators, smart innovators that get paid good money, that have a business, that can come up with 20 ideas a day. It's a hit factory, right? It's like, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but you think about, you know, producers that produce top hits, like they have a system, but there isn't necessarily the selfishness that people associate with this mad inventor who is kind of oblivious to the fact that other people may or may not like what it is that they're creating, but they just genuinely believe that it's important. And I think it's that yin and yang that's important for an investor, because you need people that are willing to challenge the status quo. And that's why sometimes I think that, you know, when I lecture innovation or inventions and stuff, it's almost a contradiction. Like, if you've paid money to come here to learn how to do it, then I don't know if you're inventors. Like, should you really be here? You could be smart professionals, but you're not the kind of the hardwired inventor that I know, because they're normally quite eccentric. They're not very good at kind of interacting and plugging
Can't tie their own shoelaces.
Exactly, and that's why they create slip-on shoes.
I'm going to go around the table now. Jonathan, come on. That nugget for somebody. Excuse me.
All those movies and children's books that you saw with events in them, forget them and ignore them, right?
Well, the Professor Brainstorm books.
Yeah, because what I would say is think that inventions are much wider than creating something out of egg boxes, right? The Fosbury flop in the high jump, that was an invention. That was a different way to do the high jump, right? Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, they've invented new sounds and new ways of understanding music. So it's not just physical objects, it's intangibles. And I think also ask yourself, why are you inventing? Is it because it makes you feel good? Is it because you want to make money, which then means you've got to raise the bar a little bit higher? Or is it because you want to solve a problem? And if that problem's in a developing nation, then it's really got to solve a problem. It can't just be like the electric toothbrush. It's got to be something which costs less, which doesn't cost very much, which people can access at scale, and it's going to give them returns that will change their everyday.
Goodbye for now. See you next time.